one call, just a horrible, horrible situation for them.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of TakeaSide. I'm your host Max McElroy and we've got a great show for you today. Before we get started, be sure to log on to Sided.co or the Sided Debates app to post, comment, and engage with different topics across all sports. The more engagement your post gets, the faster you will climb that leaderboard for a chance at a $25 Amazon gift card. With action from the NFL, NHL, and NBA seasons getting started, along with the college hoop season starting, now is a great time in sports to get on and start posting. Switching into our first debate, I am joined by Kara Lyons and Kyle Mathis to discuss Kansas versus Duke in basketball. In this number 5 versus number 7 matchup, we see a Kansas team without Bill Self and a Duke team without Coach K. What is the outlook for this matchup? Kara, who are you thinking is going to win Tuesday?
I got Kansas winning and coming out on top with Duke. I think Kansas has a strong starting 5. They share the ball well, and they always look for that one more pass, especially going up off fast breaks, finding the open man. They've been able to handle themselves so far. I think it can continue in their matchup against Duke, and I think both teams play offensive and defense aggressively, but I think Kansas wants it more, and I think they want to beat Duke more, so I got them on top.
Well, Kansas are the defending national champions. It's kind of hard to go against them, but I got to go with Duke this year because last year I would say Kansas beats Duke, but this year Duke has the number 1 recruiting class in the nation. That's super, super hard to go against. And they also enrolled the top 2 players in the nation in recruiting, at Derek Lively as well as Derek Whitehead. And they also have Kyle Filipowski, who's number 5 in the recruiting class as well. So they have 3 players in the top 5 in the nation in recruiting playing for them this season. That's super hard to go against. And they've enrolled 5 of the top 50 players in the recruiting class as well. So it's just tough to go against a Duke team that's looking that good. And even though they lost Coach K, John Shire is a great coach as well. I mean, he was an assistant to Coach K as well, and he has a national championship, which he was an assistant with, 2 Final Fours and 2 ACC championships. So he has that experience. I think he can help this Duke team get the victory.
I agree. I think Duke did recruit some very top players, but I think KU has some really solid freshmen. We got Grady Dick, who's been dominating throughout the season, although it's only 2 games, but he led the team in scoring against Omaha, shot lights out, 4 for 6 from the 3-point line in the first game, able to run the court and be able to get the open shot. He's averaging about 17.5 points per game. And then you got MJ Rice, he's averaging like 10 points per game, both good on defense and offense, and he's able to pressure the ball and cause those turnovers. And I don't think Duke can handle that pressure all the time.
Yeah, it's super hard to go against a Kansas team that has national championship experience, but Kansas also lost multiple starters during that national championship season as well. I mean, David McCormick, Mitch Lightfoot, Ochai Agbaji, Christian Brown. You also got Remy Martin in there as well. David McCormick, I think I might have said his name already, but they lost a lot of key starters to that team, and they're also without Bill Self. And I think not having Bill Self is a huge just disadvantage to the Jayhawks in that matchup because it was going to be a tough game with Bill Self. But not having him because of the 4-game suspension, I think that's going to be even more difficult. And I also was looking at the Duke statistics. They beat Jacksonville and South Carolina upstate, and those are not good teams at all. I'll just be honest. But they blew them out 71-44 and 84-38. They only let 38 points being scored on them. They haven't let a team score over 50 on them. So their defense is good, their offense is better, and their freshmen so far are doing great. I mean, Filipowski had 15 points against South Carolina upstate. He's a freshman, and he's already leading the team in scoring. So, yeah, Duke is going to be a team to look out for, and Kansas is going to have to be on their best against Duke.
It definitely will be hard for them to navigate this game without Bill Self, but I think so far they've been able to manage. They won the exhibition game at the beginning of the season, and then they're 2-0 so far, And although we did lose a lot of the key players for when we won the national championship, we still got solid returners. We got Jalen Wilson, obviously a big name to talk about. He's got double-double in the first game against Omaha. He led the team in points in the North Dakota game and almost got another double-double. Already he's averaging 20 points per game and 10 rebounds per game so far. So he's really working the offense and defensive side. Let alone you got KJ Adams, who's a strong defender and rebounder, being able to get those balls, push the ball up the court and averaging about like 5.5 rebounds. And then you got Harris Jr. too. He's averaging about 8 points per game. So I think the combination of all those players, especially knowing what it takes to win a national championship and help leading them in this game, I think that'll definitely help them come out on top.
Yeah, I think one thing that I think Duke lacks in is experience. I mean, half of the roster are freshmen that they got this year. I just think that, yes, Kansas is a fast-paced team, but Duke is faster-paced. I mean, even from the clip that we just saw, Duke got an alley-oop. And also, one of their freshmen, Filipowski, is one of the leaders in the nation right now in rebounds in a game. So he's a freshman and already a huge presence down in the center position, which is one thing that Kansas lost a lot in the offseason. I mean, they lost 2 of their starting centers. So I think that Kansas doesn't have enough. They might have enough on the perimeter, but I don't think they have enough down low in the center position to guard some of these highly recruited, highly talented freshmen that they're going to have to guard.
I think they also have some people coming up. They have some sophomores who were able to be on the bench when they won the national championship. So you got Pettiford Jr., who's getting more minutes, and he's making more of an impact on the team, and he's averaging about like 7.5 points per game. So I think he'll be able to help contribute to the team winning tomorrow. Yeah,
and one of the final things that I'll say about Duke is that they have a point guard returning in Jeremy Roach, who has Final Four experience. So they're a team that are surrounded by freshmen, but also they do have that experience as well. And he also is averaging 13 points a game. So just like how Jalen Wilson was that leading scorer for Kansas, I think Jeremy Roach is going to be a huge factor for Duke in that game tomorrow against Kansas. But that'll do it for this debate. It'll be an exciting one between Duke and Kansas, and we'll have to see who wins tomorrow in the Champions Classic. But for now, we'll send it to a break.
You may not hear it at first, but it's there. Our chant, rising. On this summit, callings converge, voices unify into a chorus that sounds out for good, for greatness. Can you hear it?
Welcome back. For our next debate, I'm joined by Jordan Ziegler and Matt Minier to debate who is the midseason NFL MVP. A lot of strong quarterback play makes this race very exciting, but who deserves the award at this point in the season? Jordan, let's start with you.
Yeah, so obviously we're looking at statistically who's been the best quarterback so far up until this point, but then also looking at, with the rest of their schedule, who's most likely to win it. And looking and taking into account all those factors, I think it's got to be Josh Allen. Like, I can't think of anyone else except maybe Mahomes, but
yeah.
I know you think differently than both of those options.
So I'm going to go with a little surprise pick. I think it's Tua time, baby. I'm going with Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. For the Miami Dolphins.
Shows you how confident he is in him right there.
I'm just going to throw some stats at you real quick. So he leads the NFL in yards per completion at 12.87. He leads the NFL in yards per dropback at 8.6. Leads the NFL in QBR at 8.6. And not just a QBR, a 99.4, which is second in the NFL. And he's doing all this with missing 2 games and almost dying against the Bengals.
I'm a big statistics guy, but most of those statistics are averages, so the missing 2 games doesn't really account because it's not just pure numbers. But more importantly, those statistics aren't accounting for how he's impacting his team winning. We're talking about MVP, who is the most valuable player in the league. And when you look at who's the most valuable, you got to look at the points that they're adding. PAA is a great measurement for points added, And right now, Josh Allen's second in the league in PAA with 35.3 points. We're halfway through the season, and he's already contributed 35 points to this Bills offense. But more importantly, you want to look at expected points added, because that's going to show you most likely where they're going to be at the end of the year. Josh Allen holds firm in that second place spot, barely behind Patrick Mahomes, a guy who Josh Allen has beat in Arrowhead Stadium. So when we're talking about statistics that actually account for, what the quarterback is doing in order to help his team win, in order to maximize his offense, Josh Allen is marginally better than Tua.
Yeah, I think I like how you look at statistics and stuff, but I think you also just look at his production here. He has 10 receptions, which leads the league with 10 receptions. And if you look at the last 10 years, a quarterback has won the MVP in the last 10 years since 2012 when I believe running back won it. But only 3 of those players had double-digit MVPs who won that MVP that year. So, and Josh Allen's already at 10, and it's only halfway through the season.
No, I understand that. I understand that. You also have to mention that he has 20 touchdowns throwing. And
Tua has 18, though.
Yeah, he also has 4 more with his legs. Josh Allen's ran the ball in 4 times.
Yeah,
He's thrown it 20 times.
He has the ball.
He has a total of 24 touchdowns. Josh Allen's rushed for 476 yards. He could casually have a 1,000-yard rushing season as a quarterback. A throw-first quarterback, not like a Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields, who running is like a massive part of their game. That's not Josh Allen's specialty, and yet at the same time, he's having one of the most productive, the 3rd most productive rushing seasons as a quarterback too. He is the most versatile, well-rounded player in the league, and that's not even up for discussion right now.
Let's say the Bills. Let's say whoever wins the AFC East, whether it be the Dolphins or the Bills. Say the Dolphins win the AFC East by 1 game or 2. Do you think that'll have an impact on the MVP voting?
I mean, obviously, where your team finishes has an impact. Like, you have to be on a good team to be the MVP. Obviously, I mean, let's not discount the Jets here. They could sneak up and win the East too.
That is true.
I think it'll have an impact, but like a minor one at that. The Bills and Dolphins haven't played each other in Buffalo yet. Obviously, the Dolphins lead the series on the year 1-0.
They won that game.
I think it's way too early to say that one or the other is the favorite to win the AFC East. I do think the Bills are the most well-rounded team. But once again, I think the difference between these two guys and the difference between Josh Allen and really everyone but maybe Patrick Mahomes is so massive. Josh Allen has 2,733 passing yards, 20 passing touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns, and a 64.5% completion rating. He is top 3 in every single quarterback statistic in the league. Every single one.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Josh Allen, he's a really, really good player. I think just as of late, though, I think Tua is the better quarterback right now. His last 4 games, he's at 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. We saw yesterday against the Vikings, Josh Allen, he had 2 picks. He couldn't come in clutch, and I think clutch factor has to do with it. It's not a huge impact, but I think how you can handle these clutch moments have to do with it.
I think it's semi-unfair to say that Tua has a better clutch factor than Josh Allen, though. I mean, Tua's never taken a team to the playoffs. The Dolphins haven't ever been good under Tua. Josh Allen is a perennial playoff contender under the Buffalo Bills now. He went into Arrowhead Stadium earlier this year, won a tight one against the Chiefs. He has never gotten blown out in the playoffs. He's been consistently good his entire career, including with some terrible teams in Buffalo when he first came into the league. To say Josh Allen isn't clutch, I feel, is a wild.
I'm not saying he's not clutch, but I think in close games this year, he's not like he should be. I think in the past when he shows that he can win those close games. This year, Josh Allen's 1-3 in one-score games. You have Tua 5-1 in one-score games this year. So again, that's not going to necessarily decide who wins MVP, but I think that does have a factor to do with it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the Tua pick's interesting. He's certainly one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Looking at statistics, it'll be interesting to see how the MVP race shapes out. But more interesting to look at is who have been the worst NFL teams this year, and we're going to have that debate for you coming up after the break.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
For our third and final debate, Dylan Vanderveen and Jackson Reed will be discussing the most disappointing team in the NFL this year. In a year full of teams with Super Bowl expectations, many have come up short and are already way outside of the playoff picture. Dylan, who has been the most disappointing team this year?
Well, Jackson, when you look at this, there's been several teams this year that have been very disappointing. You can really look at the AFC or the NFC. There's been several disappointing teams.
There's been quite a few.
I mean, you can really think this debate. You go Raiders being 2-7, but
Certainly.
really, I think there's two teams honestly, and you have one of them. I have the one that I think is the most disappointing team this season. I think that's the Denver Broncos. Look, we've been talking about this team all season. I feel like throughout news and everything like that, and this team has just not.
They're just not good. They're just not good.
The offense was supposed to be better. They got Russell Wilson, paid him, $230 million, signed the coach away from the Green Bay Packers named Nathaniel Hackett, who ran an offense there the last couple of years that had Aaron Rodgers winning 2 MVPs.
Yep.
We're creating a two-headed monster in the backfield between A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, and creating one of the best receivers in Devontae Adams. And now, this
offense
even,
just
like,
isn't that. It's the worst offense in the league.
The offense just
scoring-wise.
isn't that. It's just you brought this guy over
It's
and
so
you brought
boring
Russell
and
Wilson
uninspiring
over.
to watch the Denver Broncos play football. I think I would rather sit and watch a wall with wet paint. I think I'd rather watch that paint dry than watch Russell Wilson try to figure out and put these puzzle pieces together of how to move the football up the football field. You just can't figure it out. This offense looks disappointing. They're just not good. Just not a good team. And another team that has had high expectations and has kind of came back down to earth is the Los Angeles Rams, as much as it pains me to say it. And the thing is, this team, they just won a Super Bowl. And this is the skeleton of the team that did win that Super Bowl. Are there minor pieces that are gone? Yes, Andrew Whitworth is gone. Yes, Robert Woods is gone. But you get back Allen Robinson, but the one problem with this team has been the offensive line. They've been banged up. They've got a backup at every position on the offensive line outside of center, which if you're going to have one that's not a backup, center isn't the worst thing to have. Yeah. But they just can't find a way to win. They're losing at home. They're losing on the road. This team is just – the pieces are there. And I think that's something that's different with the Rams and Denver, and that's why the Rams are more disappointing is the pieces are there for this team. The Rams have a good
Denver's
offense.
got the pieces. Denver's got the pieces to win right now.
Could you name 4 players on that defense?
I mean, look, Ronald Darby obviously is hurt right now. Randy Gregory's hurt right now.
The pieces aren't there. Like
Bradley Chubb just got traded. I mean,
No,
you
he's not
got
on the team
Justin
anymore.
Simmons. You got Patrick Surtain. You got
right.
Williams in the secondary.
All
I
right,
mean,
fair enough.
You got
Fair enough. I still
plenty
don't
of
think
key
the
pieces,
pieces-
especially that secondary.
Nah,
That secondary is ranked #1 in the NFL right now. And the only reason, like that, everybody expected that. The only reason they're 14th in sacks right now, and the only reason they're that is because they traded Shelby Harris away to Seattle in that trade with Russell Wilson, and then they just traded Bradley Chubb, and that's brought down, even over the last just 2 weeks, that their sacks are way
I
down
think
after Bradley Chubb.
Here's the difference between the Rams and here's the difference between the Broncos. The Broncos, what are they doing in the front office? If you're still trying to keep this core together and still trying to make a run and just like, oh yeah, it's one bad year, why are you trading Bradley Chubb? Yes, the draft picks, the draft capital is worth it, but why? He's one of your key pieces. He's one of the best players on your team. Why are you trading him? Like, the Rams front office, it's very clear what they're trying to do. They're trying to go all in. They're trying to win another one, but it's not working. And that's why it's more disappointing, because when you push all the chips in the middle and it doesn't come back the way you think it is, you've got teammates fighting on the sideline, as you can see right here. Like, this team is falling apart at the seams, and I get the front row seat to it as being a Rams fan and watching this team play every week. This team is most definitely falling apart at the seams. This is the 28th best scoring offense. Cooper Kupp is hurt. The O-line is hurt. And this team things don't bounce the way of the Rams. And when you have a team that's marginally falling apart like the Rams are, and when things don't bounce your way, things tend to go up in flames, and it goes bad really, really fast. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now is the Rams. It's a Super Bowl hangover, sure, but it's definitely more than a Super Bowl hangover because this team is literally falling apart at the seams.
Well, when you go into like the offseason, you look at the Rams, and the Rams honestly didn't get better. I mean, they picked up.
I don't think they got worse.
They didn't get. I don't think they got worse, but they got older, and they didn't get better. They picked up Bobby Wagner, older. Has he been productive for him? Yes, he's been productive.
Fine.
You pick up Allen Robinson, who honestly only really had 2 good seasons
Matthew
in
Stafford
Chicago.
doesn't like
he was a
throwing
bust
him
in
the
Jacksonville. or he was a bust in
I don't
Jacksonville
think
to
he's
start
a
off his
bust.
career.
I think he's still
Went
a
to
good
Chicago,
receiver.
had a couple good years in Chicago with Matt Nagy and everything like that.
Certainly.
Obviously, you know what Allen Robinson's capabilities are, but now Matthew Stafford, the main thing I want to look at Matthew Stafford is throughout this entire offseason, you knew that his elbow was hurt.
No,
They had bad tendonitis in his elbow. It was
And it's
reported
not
throughout training
something-
camp. And now it looks like Matthew Stafford can't throw the deep ball to Allen Robinson, and that seems like it's the main problem. All he's doing is throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp.
It certainly feels like this is a role reversal because the Philadelphia Eagles are one of those teams that is always hurt. Like, their players are always banged up. They can't find a way to stay healthy. And the Rams have actually found a way to stay pretty healthy throughout the core years of Kupp and with Jared Goff now and Matthew Stafford. Now the roles are reversed here because the Eagles are staying healthy, knock on wood, as they play tonight. I don't want to see anything like that happen. And the Rams can't find a way to stay healthy. So, yes, the Rams have been disappointing. Yes, the Broncos have been disappointing. Yes, the Raiders have been disappointing. But there's a team that hasn't been disappointing, and the Minnesota Vikings are that team. And our host, Max McElroy, is a big fan of the Minnesota Vikings, as lucky as they were last week. Let's just throw it over to him because he's probably got something to rub it in our face a little bit.
just a
Max,
little bit.
just go. Move it.
Out of all the pain that I've experienced as a Vikings fan, it feels very good to have this moment. It seems like decades of curses are all just coming back and getting this 1 year. Team of destiny, going to the Super Bowl, of course. But thank you for tuning in to today's show. As always, be sure to log on to the Sided Debates app or sided.co to start posting, voting, and commenting on other debates. And follow us on social media. Our Twitter is at TakeaSideKU. We'll be posting clips from the show as well as some bonus debates throughout the week. And our Instagram is also at TakeaSideKU. We will have a bunch of live debates and posting some extra sided content. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at Take a Side, we'll see you next week.